19th Element, as well as Zoom and Facebook. So welcome once again.
Welcome. We're back again, 19th Element, California Radio. I am Amira, assisting Dr. Alim with his images. And so here you go, Dr. Alim, 19th Element, California Radio. Welcome back.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome. This is the 19th Element, and sometimes it's called the second part of the Survival Show. The first part being the Your Immunity Project that airs on Tuesdays. So this is Wednesday, January the 28th, 2026. And our theme hasn't changed in the last 2 months. It's a world at war, world gone crazy, a world gone broke. And so we're going for broke tonight. We have a lot of images, a lot of headlines, a lot of stories, a lot to get to. We live at a very dangerous time. And so that's why we have part 2 of the survival show, because if COVID doesn't get you, if the vaccine doesn't get you, if the chemtrails don't get you, hey, we're talking about some strategic war and peace issues that might just get you. And survival is absolute. You either survive or you don't. And so we have to have complete situational awareness, which is a military term. Situational awareness is what the military means. Hey, if you want to survive on the battlefield, you better know what's going on around you. And you better be able to respond to any threat to your life. And so that's the attitude with the Your Immunity Project. That's the attitude with the 19th Element. We have the attitude that we are at war. We are in the middle of a war. This is not peacetime. This is not a time for people to be complacent or laid back or kicked back or thinking that this is normal. There's nothing going on in the world today that I would characterize as normal. Everything that you see, everything that you hear is abnormal, strange, and not in a positive way. It's strange and dangerous. It's dangerous to the point of extinction. Not just of the human species, but of insects, of animals, of birds, of fish, because of the things that have appeared upon the face of the earth. The corruption in the water, in the air, in the food, in the mentality even, the filthy morals that are on display day and night, 24/7. So it's a constant assault against our very humanity. a constant assault against decency, a constant assault against civilization, a constant assault against freedom and justice and equality, a constant assault against man in the image and likeness of God. And so what we're going to see this evening as we go through our headlines, and you can bring them up, Sister Amira, as we go through our headlines, you're going to see that this literally is the war of Armageddon. This literally is the war of good against evil, God against the devil. That's what we're dealing with. That's what you're faced with. And so we're going to be all over the place, but we're ultimately going to end up in one place. We're going to end up in the place where we as individual people, we as families, we as communities, we as nations are going to have to come face to face with the evil that's confronting us, that's challenging us, that's threatening us. And so this was the flyer for tonight's program, the 19th Element. And it's the depiction, as you can see, of a satanic figure in the midst of flames holding up the flag of Zionism. And so that's what the entire world is confronted with, the evil of Zionism, whether it's Jewish Zionism, Christian Zionism, or Muslim Zionism. It doesn't make any difference because Zionism is based on the principle of Satan, which is to say, I am better. I am better than you. And therefore you have to submit to me. And so Jewish Zionism, Christian Zionism, Muslim Zionism, of whatever stripe, is actually the antithesis of the religions that they say they are attached to. Which one of the 10 commandments given by Moses to the Jews is being observed in the advancement of Zionism? Every single one of the 10 commandments is being violated wholesale. Which one of the commandments of Jesus given to the Christians is being upheld by the Christian Zionists? Every single commandment of Jesus to love thy neighbor as thyself is being violated. And what of the example of Muhammad is not being violated by the Muslims, who are also Zionists, who are also a part of the Zionist project to encircle the world with this idea of racial and religious superiority and the subjugation of humanity under the heel of oppression, under the oppression of religious Zionism. And what is disguised as a religious movement from God Almighty, the God of the righteous, the God of Abraham and the prophets. It turns out that nothing could be further from the truth, that behind it all lurks the satanic figure of Lucifer. And so now every one of us on planet Earth, whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever you may be, or whatever you claim you're not, whatever the case may be, you are confronted face to face with blatant evil, the personification of evil. And there you are, and there I am, confronted by evil. And so some would say that if it's Judgment Day, that means that we must use our judgment to decide what we must do in the face of such abject evil. We are witnessing the worst events in human history taking place before our eyes on the internet, on social media. And so, as I said, maybe about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, Gaza is the judgment of the world. when we witness the evil being perpetrated against the Palestinian people, and the nations of the world stand back and do nothing. When the people of the world stand back and do nothing, when the international organizations of the world stand back and do nothing, then we are failing our test as individual people, as families, as communities, as nations, as international organizations. And so we can either hang our heads in shame and defeat and go down in ignominy, or we can raise our heads up and raise our voices and raise whatever forces and influence and powers that we have to oppose this abject evil that is threatening to destroy the entire world. The entire world is up in flames. It is a world at war, a world going crazy, a world going broke. And there's a cause behind all of that evil. And that is what must be confronted by all of us. Next image, please, Sister Amira. Who is like unto the beast, and who can make war unto the beast? Now, this is from the writings of General Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a Confederate general during the Civil War. He actually is credited with organizing the Ku Klux Klan after the Civil War. He was a part of the assassination plot that killed Abraham Lincoln. He is probably the foremost Freemason in history. He literally wrote the book of Freemasonry. It's called Morals and Dogma. And every Freemason, every secret society member on planet Earth, they read the Morals and Dogma of Albert Pike. What kind of morals did Albert Pike have? What kind of dogma did he represent? So in a letter that he wrote to one of his disciples, Mazzini, a man by the name of Mazzini, he said the Third World War will be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. So in other words, Albert Pike is plotting the Third World War. He also had something to say about the First World War, obviously, and the Second World War. And those have already occurred. That's a part of history. So that's not up for debate. But here he is describing the Third World War as a war contrived by Illuminati agents to confuse the Jews into something called political Zionism, to deceive the Jews into thinking that there's something special above other people and that they deserve a homeland that's exclusive to themselves. Deceive the entire Jewish religion. And then pit them against the Islamic world. Because in fact, in order to make political Zionism work, you had to conquer the Islamic world. You had to subjugate the entire Islamic world, and of course the Islamic world has a response to that. You can't just come in here from Europe and take our land, take control of our territory, take control of our governments, undermine our society, our civilization, destroy our way of life, to impose yourself on us as some imperial power. And so this is how the current conflict, they call it in the Middle East, was started deliberately by the disciples of Albert Pike in the secret societies of Freemasonry. Next image, please. And of course, the purpose is to destroy Judaism. Look how the reputation of Judaism has been soiled by what's going on in Gaza. And look how the reputation of Islam has been soiled and tarnished by the abject cowardice being shown by the Islamic world in the face of evil. And of course, this was these slides are a little bit out of order. And so this was his prediction or formula, if you will, or recipe for the Second World War. And that was about creating the conditions for the founding of a racist, Zionist, Jewish state in Palestine to create the tension of what's going on in the Middle East today. Next image, please. So the letter in its entirety is easily found online. So just look up Albert Pike's letter to Mazzini. You can read the whole thing for yourself. And there's the book written by Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma, the guidance for all of the Freemasons, the secret societies of different sorts all over the world. He's their godfather. There's his statue in front of the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. So if any of the non-white people have been wondering why you can't get justice in the justice system of America, hey, look at the statue of Albert Pike and put two and two together. This is the founder of the Ku Klux Klan. Now, of course, they did knock his statue down. He said, "Do not touch my statue," but they did touch it. And I don't know if it's been put back up, but it was there for about 100 years in front of the Justice Department. Next image, please. Making it crystal clear to anybody with eyes that you're not going to get any justice in America. So now, behind the doctrine of Freemasonry, behind the morals and dogma of Freemasonry, behind literally the activities of the secret societies of the world, including secret societies like the Ku Klux Klan, like B'nai B'rith, like the Muslim Brotherhood, and like the Chinese Triads, and other secret societies of different names around the world, including, in fact, the so-called terrorist organizations, the Mujahideen, the Al-Qaeda, ISIS. All of these are affiliated with an underground network of secret societies, all under the guidance of Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. Now, if he was the chief Mason of his time, during the time of the Civil War and after, well, who's the head of the Masons now in his place? It's King Charles III of England. He's the top Freemason in the world. And so he's reading the books of Albert Pike, and he's following the guidance of Albert Pike to bring about the Second World War, the First World War, the Second World War, and now the Third World War. If the fighting is taking place in what is called the Holy Land, and the capital of the Holy Land is the holy city, Jerusalem, well, who's the king of Jerusalem? Well, you would be surprised to know, perhaps, that one of the royal titles of King Charles of England is he is the king of Jerusalem. So the fighting in Palestine, the fighting in the Holy Land by the Freemasonic, you could say, modern day crusaders, the Crusader Knights, the Knights of the Round Table, under the control of the British monarch. Zionism is a British project. It was the British that deceived the Jews into becoming Zionists. It was the British through the Schofield Bible that deceived the Christians into becoming Zionists. It was the British through the Wahhabi Islam that they created that got the Muslims to become Zionists, conquistadors, destroyers, murderers, mass killers, to establish what? The kingdom of God? Well, what God do you mean? Yes, it is establishing the kingdom of a God, but it's not the God of righteousness. Albert Pike makes it very clear that all of this, the First World War, the Second World War, the Third World War, what we call Armageddon, is all to establish the kingdom of Satan. And so that's what you're confronted with. Will Satan rule or will God rule? Next image, please. See, now, this is what it's all about in his own words. That which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God. But it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, sovereign grand inspectors general, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us, initiates of the highest degree, maintain the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. So there it is. What's the morals and dogma of Albert Pike? Luciferianism, the worship of Lucifer, the worship of Satan. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, that's what they call Jesus, calumniate, spread false and harmful statements about him? Yes, according to Albert Pike, Lucifer is God. Lucifer is God. That's what it's all about. You're being confronted with the forces of evil that proclaim Lucifer to be God, and they expect you to bow down or die. Well, will you stand up and fight? Next image, please. See, that's why you can't escape this war. You can't escape it. No soul can escape it. Which side are you on? Now, part of the War of Armageddon, of course, involves economic warfare. And so economic warfare is being waged against the American people to drive them into poverty. It was announced some years ago that you will have nothing and be happy. Well, I don't know about the happy part, but you're certainly getting to the point where you have nothing. 92% of Americans have cut back on spending as the standard of living in the U.S. crumbles. And your wages are not increasing, and the layoffs are increasing. Next image, please. And there's not much hope on the horizon. Now, of course, everyone is focused on Iran versus the United States and Israel. That's all in the news. President Trump has threatened what he's going to do. Iran, for literally decades, has always been out to destroy the Islamic Republic of Iran. Don't forget, the democratically elected government of Iran was overthrown by the CIA in 1953. Kermit Roosevelt, the nephew of Teddy Roosevelt, engineered a coup in 1953 that overthrew the democratically elected government in Iran and installed a tyrant known as the Shah of Shahs, the Pahlavi regime, who was a vicious dictator that ruled Iran under the guidance of the CIA for decades, until 1979, when the Iranian people overthrew the Shah and set up what is now called the Islamic Republic of Iran, because these are Muslim people, and they want an Islamic government. They don't want a Western world government. They want an Islamic government, and they have an Islamic government, and that is a threat, of course, to the likes of Albert Pike. How are you going to have a world religion worshiping Satan, Lucifer, if you allow a nation like Iran to exist, where they worship the one true and living God and actually uphold the principles of the religion that they have been given. And so Iran is the very threat to Luciferianism. Iran is the threat to Satanism. Iran is the threat to the free Masonic orders around the world. And so all of them are in league together to overthrow the Islamic Republic of Iran. But Iran threatens to sink the USS Abraham Lincoln. They've got some missile technology that is unheard of. Next image, please. Look at our aircraft carrier, 5,000 sailors. Imagine if Iran's threat is true, that they could sink the USS Abraham Lincoln and put 5,000 sailors on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. What a catastrophe that would be. Now, this was an image published by an Iranian service that allegedly is an image, a photograph taken by an Iranian drone flying over the aircraft carrier. They took a picture of the flight deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln and sent it to the Pentagon. So now suppose we had a missile attached to this photograph or on that drone instead of just taking a picture. See, it's not really necessary to sink an aircraft carrier to put it out of commission. As you can see, all an aircraft carrier is just a floating runway for aircraft to take off and land on. So you put a few crater holes in that runway, hey, the aircraft carrier is useless. It's just a sitting target. And you could put it on the bottom if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to. So is this just propaganda from Iran saying we could have got you if we wanted you? Next image, please. And you couldn't do anything about it? Boom. See, this is what it would look like if one of those ballistic missiles, the Al-Fatah ballistic missile that the Iranians have, I think they call it the Fatah 2. You say if a Fatah 2 hit that aircraft carrier, this is what it would look like in the middle of the Persian Gulf, on fire, destroyed. Next image, please. See, the Fatah 2 missiles, it's a ballistic missile, and it goes high altitude. And so then from a very high altitude, almost in outer space, it comes straight down on top of the aircraft carrier. And of course, the defenses of an aircraft carrier and the destroyer group that surrounds it, they're looking for horizontal attacks, coming skimming across the water. But this is not coming skimming across the water. This ballistic missile that the Iranians have is coming straight down from the sky and blow your deck to pieces. Next image, please. They have over 100 aircraft, fighter planes on the deck. And each one of those planes is worth like $100 million. And you put all that on the bottom of the ocean? So again, the Iranians are showing these images all over the world. Say, this is what we are prepared to do. Next image, please. They made it very clear. Any act against us from now on is going to be all-out war. So Washington's ultimatum, the U.S. is preparing targeted assassinations of Iranian generals and political elites. So in other words, they just want to carry out murder or I guess kidnapping like they got Maduro. And they may think that they can install another puppet. Is that what they think? Well, I think they better think again. And then I think the Iranian foreign minister said to Mr. Trump, you trying to assassinate our supreme leader? We won't miss the next time. And a lot of people speculate, what was the meaning of that? What do you mean, we won't miss the next time? Because you remember there were stories out that the assassination attempts against Trump had an Iranian connection. So they said, we won't miss the next time. Next image, please. So you kill our leader, we'll kill you. Now look what's going on in America, in Washington, D.C., or with all this big war talk. War is expensive. How are you going to fight a war when the government's getting ready to shut down again? It just shut down a couple of months ago. Barely got it back up, and now they're going to shut down again? Government shutdown rise spikes as Senate Democrats vow to tank funding package. See, the Democrats are mad because Donald Trump sent the army up there into Minneapolis and they killed some people. Next image, please. So the Democrats he said, well, you can murder people overseas, but you can't murder people right here in Minneapolis. And so it's a big fight on Capitol Hill to see whether the government's going to be able to keep its doors open. Next image, please, because Uncle Sam is broke. So world at war, world gone crazy, world gone broke. Now here's the president thumping his chest. He's proud of the fact that he is imposing greater sanctions on Cuba. Cuba's been under sanctions from the United States since 1959. They haven't cracked yet. They've suffered a lot, no doubt about that. But have they cracked? Have they bowed? Have they submitted? So now part of the reason Trump took over the oil coming out of Venezuela, so he claims, was to cut Cuba off from getting Venezuelan oil. And so Trump is predicting, the fall of Cuba. Now, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, he's one of the exiled Cubans that got kicked out of Cuba in 1958 and 1959 by Fidel Castro. These were the gangsters down there in Havana running gambling casinos. New York mobsters turning Cuba into their playground. And so Fidel said enough. Che Guevara said enough. And they overthrew Batista and set up a government of the people, a socialist government of the people. And because of that, these gangsters in America that got kicked out have been mad ever since and trying to get back in control in Cuba. And so here they got their man, Donald Trump. He says that Cuba will be falling soon. Well, if you don't have any money in the treasury, Mr. Trump, maybe America will be falling soon. Next image, please. Now here's the neighbor to the north, Canada, where they're having a watershed moment. Why Canada is rebuilding ties with China after years of strain. Well, this is good news to me. I was happy when I found out Canada and China signing a free trade agreement. You know what that means? That means you'll be able to get some of those Chinese cars. All you got to do is drive across the border into Canada, and you'll be able to get one of those BYD cars. You get one of those Chinese electric vehicles. They got like 1,000-mile range, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. They got some fantastic electric vehicles in China, and now, you see, they'll be able to import them into Canada. I understand they already signed a deal for 49,000 of these fantastic Chinese electric vehicles and other Chinese goods going into Canada, and also I understand going into Mexico. So in a little while, you'll be able to go to Canada or Mexico and buy a Chinese Rolls Royce. What do they call it? The stiletto, the Chinese stiletto, by that company called BYD, Build Your Dream. See, that's what is going to make the American people mad. When the American people find out, hey, the reason why Trump has these tariffs is so you can't get these good Chinese cars. You can't get them. Everybody else got them in Europe, all over Africa. They driving these wonderful Chinese vehicles that make America's Model T, or make America's cars look like Model T Fords. So when the American people wake up and find out that that's what this is all about, you trying to protect Ford and General Motors and Chrysler and all the rest of them, trying to keep the Chinese out of the American market so the American people can't take advantage of the advanced technological industrial capacity of China? Boy, that been making me mad. I wish I had one of them Chinese cars. But if Canada gets set up, hey, it might not be so difficult to get one. Next image, please. See, the future is in China. The technological innovation is no longer in Europe and America. Look what's going on in Europe. This is from Ukraine. See, they're in the dark. As cold as it is here in the East Coast of the United States. Here I'm in outside of Washington, D.C., single digits. This is about the coldest that I can ever remember it ever being. But over there in Ukraine, it's colder than this. And guess what? They don't have any power. They don't have any lights. They don't have any heat. They don't have any sewage. They can't cook their food. They can't flush their toilets. And so guess what the government of Ukraine is coming out with? We're going to dig outdoor toilets. In other words, they back to the outhouse stage. Europe is going back to the Dark Ages. They're going to have public outhouses in Kiev because they don't have any electricity. Because they decided they were going to pick a fight with the Russian bear. And now the Russian bears put their lights out. Next image, please. Got them shivering in the cold, in the dark. Now here's an important topic. We don't have time to get into all of the details of it. But if the War of Armageddon, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is a war for the minds of men, the stakes of which are the lives of men, well then how would you go about waging a mind war against humanity? Well, you would do it with nanotechnology. So the takeover, nanotech, and the rise of the digital thought clones. Yeah, you heard that right. Digital thought clones. What is a digital thought clone? It's like the artificial intelligence version of you, the artificial intelligence version of your mind, your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts. Next image, please. A digital thought clone. Let's skip that. Go to the next one. Yeah, there it is. In other words, the nano lipid particles that are in the shot, the smart dust that's in the chemtrails, that includes the graphene oxide and all of the rest of it. Once that gets inhaled into the body or injected, whichever the case may be, it doesn't make any difference. But once those nanoelectronic components enter the body, then they self-assemble into electronic components, transmitters, antennas, receivers, neural processors. In other words, these are nano-sized computers that have been installed into the human body, into the human brain. And so this is a magnified image of one of these nanoparticles, these nanotech particles. This is what your thought clone looks like. That embedded in this particle, and it has an antenna on it. They can transmit you. They can transmit your thoughts, your ideas to yourself or out of yourself. They can control different parts of your brain to control your behavior, your talk, your health, your physiological state, your emotional state, and literally give you memories or erase memories, anything that they want to do. Total control from the inside out. So they call this, this is an example of a fully formed mesogenic micro bidirectional biosignal structure complete with antenna. Yeah. Next image, please. So this is what's inside of people. We talked about this last night on the Your Immunity Project. That's why people are emitting radio frequency signals, because they have those structures built up, those thought clones built up inside of them, and it's emitting a signal and is receiving signals. So a digital thought clone can be used to create an AI behavioral influence agent. In other words, this thought clone becomes an agent within you. Remember, Albert Pike said we would start a war by using agents of the Illuminati? Now here's a nano-sized agent that's been installed inside your body. And of course, your body has its own intelligence. You know, your body has a mind of its own. The body operates itself. The heart knows how to do its thing. The intestines, the liver, all your body organs, your brain knows how to function on its own. But now there's an agent that's being installed, an Illuminati agent, if you will, that's going to start giving counter signals, causing confusion in the heart, confusion in the mind, confusion in the brain, confusion in the body, confusion in the behavior and thought patterns of people, confusion about memories, being erased so that people can be abused. They say that this is being used to manipulate women right now into sexual trafficking, without their being aware of the fact that that is why they're doing what they're doing. They think they volunteered to be a sex worker, when in fact it was one of these installed agents that made a subtle suggestion that they do that. And there they go find themselves doing it, thinking that it was a decision made on their own, when in fact it wasn't. Artificial intelligence was right there leading them astray. Next image, please. Yeah, these are busy slides. I'm not going to read much of them, but right there towards the bottom, it gives you the dimensions. These 250 nanometer disc-shaped particles with a core double shell structure. And then it gives you the chemical components. That's iron oxide, cobalt iron oxide, and barium titanium oxide. And of course, these are some of the components that we see in the chemtrails. So you say, well, how did this get into the person's body? They breathed it in. Or sometimes, of course, it was injected. But either way, it's in the body. And under the influence of electromagnetic frequency, these tiny nano electronic components self-assemble themselves into transistors, into transducers, into amplifiers, into antennas and receivers and transmitters. In other words, the person becomes electrified, electronically, they become a cyborg. I guess that's why they invented that word. They become a cyborg, an electronically controlled cyborg robot, zombie, disguised as a person. Next image, please. So now we're not talking about things to come. We're talking about people who are all around you right now. They are the victims of what we're talking about. DARPA's Electrics, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. This is the Pentagon. This is the War Department. So DARPA Electrics program style neural dust chips or nanotech. So in other words, this is talking about the neural dust, the smart dust. We pointed out in previous broadcasts that it's DARPA that is spraying the chemtrails. So now here's the smart dust that they put in the chemtrails that people inhale, and we're finding out what it's for. It's nanotechnology designed to create these thought clones of you as an agent inside of you to influence your thoughts and your behavior, and even to decide whether you can remember something or not. If they decide to abuse you in a certain way, they will erase the memory of that. This is how the pedophiles are targeting children. They can abuse a child and then erase the memory of it from the child's mind. So there would never be any charges filed against the pedophile. Next image, please. So this is diabolically evil, as you can see. And again, you can take a screenshot of these if you want. I'm not going to read it. The slides are too busy. Next image, please. But it essentially goes through the details of what I just said, where these self-assembled thought clones set up house in different parts of the body, and they actually start to control the heart. They control the brain. They control the thoughts, the memories, the hormonal balance in the body. And of course, last night on the Your Immunity Project, we talked about the high incidence of neuropsychiatric disorders associated with the COVID-19 shot. Okay, well, this is a part of that same phenomenon. China's humanoid robot becomes world's first to connect with orbiting satellite. Yeah, the robot technology in China is far advanced. So now what this experiment showed was that you can control one robot or an army of robots from outer space via satellite. So you could literally put together a robot army under the command coming from outer space and send them into battle to do whatever you wanted to do. Of course, you could use it for humanitarian purposes, rescue operations, all kinds of things. But this is a major breakthrough that shows that robots can be controlled by satellites from outer space with electronic signals. Now, we just showed you that electronic components, such as you would find in a robot, have also been installed in the bodies of human beings. So if a robot that is not only humanoid, is not human, only humanoid, can be controlled by an outer space satellite, how about humans that have robotic components installed in their bodies? Can they be controlled from outer space via satellites? Interesting question. Next image, please. So you could have armies of robots and armies of cyborg humans. Now, everybody in the U.S. almost on the East Coast, really about 200 million people, are dealing with the coldest weather that we've ever experienced. Cold weather paralyzes the U.S. Power plants are shutting down. Gas pipelines are frozen. Now, from the weather forecast that I've seen, the cold is going to intensify. And the storm that just passed just made way for another storm that's on its way. And so whatever it is now is getting ready to get much, much worse. And so prepare yourself for power outages. Prepare yourself for keeping warm, if you're no longer able to heat your home. How are you going to keep your water pipes from bursting? You see, these are things that perhaps you never had to think about before, but now you do. How are you going to have your morning coffee if the power's out? How are you going to heat your food? What are you going to do to keep yourself alive, under conditions like they're experiencing right now in Ukraine? Will you have to build an outhouse too? Next image, please. If your toilet doesn't work, if the tap doesn't work, how will you keep yourself clean? Now, of course, along with everything else, economic warfare, tariff wars are taking place. And because of that war, which really is representing the fall of the dollar, that's what that's all about. It's the crack up of the dollar, the collapse of the almighty dollar, the collapse of Wall Street, the collapse of London as financial centers, and the financial shift to the BRICS nations, especially Russia, China, and India. And so the gold market is now in Shanghai, not London or New York. So bullion prices, that's for gold or silver, are laughably low. So even though gold reached an all-time high, past $5,000 per ounce, according to Bill Holter, who's an expert, he's saying, hey, that's laughably low. Where gold is going, nobody can really say. Where silver is going, even if it's over $100 an ounce. I think last week we were reporting silver had just crossed, it was just above $90. Now silver in some reports is over $109. You see, and so that's just accelerating, that's showing the acceleration of the fall of the dollar. So those who saw this coming, they started saving in gold and silver, gold coins and bars, silver coins and bars. Some people also included platinum, saving that. But it's still not too late. See, in other words, what this means is even if you didn't get in on the gold and silver process early, it's still not too late, because even these all-time high prices are actually just getting started. It's going to go much, much, much higher than it is right now. Next image, please. Some people are predicting $600 silver in the next year or two. Now, here's something bad out of Canada. When they started the euthanasia program in Canada, like in other places, it quickly got out of hand. And so now the easiest service that you can get from the government, the quickest service that you can get from the government in Canada, they'll come quick and kill you. So here's a sad case, a lady chronically ill, but she wanted to live. She wanted to live. She had something to live for. But her husband got tired of taking care of her, so he called up the government. The government sent an agent and killed her. Next image, please. Now, of course, there was a coup, an overthrow, or at least an attempted overthrow of the government in Venezuela. I don't know if the kidnapping of one man constitutes the overthrow of a government. I'm not quite sure what is going on in Venezuela right now, but I think just the kidnapping of one man and his wife, I don't think that means you got the whole government and you got the whole country under your control just because you kidnapped one man. But it's not just Venezuela, it's not just Cuba where they're trying to cause an overthrow. Trump's not just threatening to overthrow Greenland. It's not just they're trying to overthrow the government in Colombia and Panama and Nicaragua. It's not just they bombing Nigeria, bombing Somalia, overthrew the government in Sudan. It's not just that. Who did they say their number one rival was? China. So look what just happened in China. An attempted coup. An attempted coup. They attempted to arrest Xi Jinping, the president of China. And guess who was involved in it? According to Chinese sources, his top general, his two top generals, they were tied in with, remember Mark Milley, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? I guess that was under the first Trump administration and into Biden. And remember the story came out that General Miley or Milley, whatever his name is, he was sharing nuclear data with the Chinese and had made a deal with the Chinese military that we won't attack you if you won't attack us, going over or going behind the backs of the political leadership. And a lot of people charge General Milley with traitor, with being a traitor, for having secret deals with the Chinese military. And so now on the other side, it looks like these were the Chinese counterparts to General Milley. That the U.S. military and the Chinese military had something going that involved the overthrow of the Chinese government. Next image, please. I wouldn't want that to happen, and I couldn't get one of them Chinese cars. Now here's a show of backbone to a degree. but it's really a show of self-interest. The Arab Emirates that are close by Iran are now forbidding the U.S. to attack Iran, as though they have some power to do that. But anyhow, they're closing their airspace to American planes and Israeli planes. They're not allowing their facilities to be used in any way. Because, by the way, Iran said to them, if you do what you did before, we're going to destroy all of you. We have enough missile power to destroy all of you. So you can go along with Israel and America if you want to, but when we destroy them, we will destroy you in the bargain. And all of those U.S. military bases anywhere in the Middle East, all of them will be destroyed. Iran has made it very clear, we will kill every last one of them if they attack us. And that includes you if you are harboring U.S. naval bases, like some of them are, U.S. Air Force bases on your territory. Okay, if you're helping them, we're going to destroy you. So now these Arab Emirates, they're pleading with America, please don't attack Iran, because that's going to destroy all of us. Next image, please. But Trump is a madman. When has he ever listened to reason? Now here's somebody that's supposed to be a philosopher of reason, Yuval Harari, and he's the philosopher behind the New World Orders, so it seems. He believes in the singularity. He's a professor at Jerusalem University, so he's all in the middle of the genocide taking place, so he don't speak up against genocide, but he is warning people about the threat of artificial intelligence. Next image, please. See, AI is not just a tool, it's an agent. So here we go again. You see those nanoelectric particles that we were talking about before? They use the same language. They said these are agents. Now here goes Yuval Harari. He's saying the same thing, that these are agents of influence to whisper, not just in your ear, but whisper to your brain cells, whisper to your heart cells what artificial intelligence wants you to do and wants you to be like. He says artificial intelligence is not a tool. He compares like a knife is a tool. And you can use it to cut salad, he says, or to commit murder. But AI is not a tool because it can decide for itself whether it wants to cut salad or whether it wants to commit murder. And it's creative too. So it can create another knife, one like you've never seen. And on and on and on. And so this becomes the real enemy, artificial intelligence, digital intelligence. The greatest fitna, according to Prophet Muhammad, the greatest trial would be Dajjal. And it seems to me it's sizing up to be digital intelligence, artificial intelligence as an agent of evil and destruction. Next image, please. AI will take over anything made of words. See, this is his prediction. That what's going to happen, anything that's based on words, which pretty much everything is. In the beginning was the Word was God, the Word was with God, and after many days the Word became flesh. So according to Yuval Harari, AI will take over anything made of words. He points out that all of the religions are based on religious texts, books. The people of the book, that's another name for the Jews. The Muslims have the Quran. The Christians have the Bible. Other religions have their books. All of them based on words. And according to Yuval Harari, anything that's based on words can be taken over and will be taken over by artificial intelligence. I saw a post where an imam over a mosque was asking artificial intelligence a question about what was in the Quran. So that's what he's talking about. That pretty soon you will rely on artificial intelligence to tell you what God said. And one of the things that Yuval Harari points out is that artificial intelligence has now learned how to lie. Next image, please. So in other words, they will make lies or turn everything that is in these books of scripture, the word of God, they will turn it all into a pack of lies. Oh, so now here's the letter from Albert Pike to Mazzini. So you can screenshot that if you will. And it goes into the details of the First, Second, and Third World Wars. Next image, please. So things don't happen by accident. It happens by planning. And so those are images for this evening. And we were all over the place, but I think the major point that was being made is that we are up against the evil of Satan himself. That what is taking place all over the world with the overthrow of governments, with wars and rumors of wars, all kinds of atrocities being committed, the appearance of the chemtrails and the biological weapons, the electronic weapons, and the trouble in the food chain, and all of it that we've talked about for so long. All of it amounts to the evil, the power of evil mounting to overcome the power of good. And so there you and I are in the middle of that confrontation. And we have to choose. We can't stay neutral. If we try to stay neutral, we will be consumed. And so we have to make a stand. We either are on the side of good or we're on the side of evil. We're either in favor of the righteousness of God and his prophets. We believe in a hereafter that takes place after this wicked world has been destroyed, or we don't, which means that we condemn ourselves to go down with a world that is going down. So this is a world at war, a world gone crazy, a world gone broke. And we're just about at the point of becoming a world that has gone out of existence. So those are my remarks for today with the 19th element, the second part of the Survival Show. So thanks for being with us. Now, I don't know if we have any hands up or anybody has a question or comment. We don't usually take questions, but we can if there are any pertinent questions. And inshallah, we'll be back with you next week with the Your Immunity Project on Tuesday and the 19th element on Wednesday evenings.
So, Doc, you do have one hand.
Okay.
That's on the Zoom. I think that's Brother Dawood. You can go ahead with your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Betty. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, God. Cooking as usual. Cooking.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else got any questions, but I wanted to ask you, the name Albert Pike. Who was Albert Pike was my first question. And my second question is, when Israel did just attack they attacked somewhere, and I think it was Doha, in the last few months, I wanted to know how that eroded the trust of America in the Middle East. And the third question was, I know up in Greenland, there's some talk up in Greenland that there's some stuff going on up in Greenland. I think it was you or somebody else told me that Trump is sending some military people up there or something. What's going on in Greenland where they want to start sending military troops up to Greenland? That's my questions.
Well, thank you. Those are good questions. And, we've given some answers to all of those questions in the past. Your first question, who is Albert Pike? I think I spent about 15 minutes earlier in the broadcast telling you who Albert Pike is. So maybe you missed that part of the broadcast. But he was a Confederate general involved in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. He was the founder of the Ku Klux Klan. And he is the preeminent leader of the Freemasons. He wrote the book, literally, called Morals and Dogma. So every Freemason on planet Earth is under the influence of Albert Pike. And of course, we read from his writings where he said the whole purpose is to delude the crowd. He called the public the crowd and make them think that this is all about God, when in fact, under the cover, it's all about Lucifer. So literally, that's what we're faced with today. We're in a war, literally, with the forces of Satanism and Luciferianism, trying to take over the world from the control of God and the righteous. So your question about Greenland, we touched on that last week. There's an old project. Again, going back to Albert Pike, one of his projects we touched on last week or the week before. It was called one of the secret societies that he had, the Knights of the Golden Circle. They were called the Knights of the Golden Circle, and that's part of what the Civil War was all about at that time, was to establish a slave empire centered in Havana, Cuba. And it was going to be run by the knights of this golden circle of slavery that would make, those in control of it fabulously rich. And so that's what they've been trying to do since the time of Albert Pike, take over Cuba and run this slave empire. The center was Havana, Cuba, and it had a radius of 1,000 miles. So extending all the way up to Richmond, Virginia. And then if you sweep a circle out with Havana, Cuba at the center, then that takes parts of Mexico, Latin America, and the northern tier of South America. And of course, all of the Caribbean. And all of that is to become a slave empire. Well, they didn't quite accomplish that during Albert Pike's time. So they tried it again in the 1930s when they set up what they called the North American Technate. Yes, the North American Technate, which would be the union of Greenland, Canada, the United States, Mexico, Central America, and the northern tier of South America. In other words, just an updated version of the Golden Circle. And so that didn't work out either in the 1930s. And so here we go again in 2026, where the Knight Commander himself, see, that's one of Donald Trump's titles. During his first inauguration, he was sworn in as the Knight Commander of the Knights of Malta. Again, there's another secret order. This is a military order this time, under the command of King Charles of England. And so Donald Trump is the Knight Commander of King Charles. King Charles wants to conquer Jerusalem, so that's what Donald Trump is doing. King Charles wants to set up the Golden Circle, a slave empire that covers all of North America. Don't forget, he's the head of state of most of the countries in North America. Who's the head of state of Canada except the King of England? Who's the head of state in Jamaica? Who's the head of state in the Bahamas? Who's the head of state in most of those countries in Central and South America? It's the King of England. So he doesn't just want symbolic control. He wants actual control. And so he's deployed his Knight Commander, Donald Trump, to go conquer all these areas that he's supposed to be in charge of. So that's what we're dealing with. And that's where Greenland comes in. And of course, that's in the Arctic Circle. And the Chinese and the Russians, they have developed nuclear powered icebreakers. They have a whole fleet of nuclear powered icebreakers. So they're able to break through the ice at the Arctic Circle. And that's a transport route now. They don't have to go south through the Suez Canal. They don't have to go beneath Africa and all the way up to deliver something to Europe. They have a route through the Arctic Sea, and it's much shorter because you're at the top of the world. And that arc is smaller than down below. And so they're able to deliver goods to Europe through the Arctic route because they have those icebreakers. Well, America only has one icebreaker, and it's old fashioned. And so it can't keep up with the Russians and the Chinese. And so that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to block the Chinese and the Russians from trading through the Arctic Sea, and with easy access then to Europe and other parts of the world, uh, because that gives them a competitive advantage. Remember, Trump is trying to force Europe and has forced Europe to abandon cheap Russian oil and gas, abandon cheap Chinese consumer goods, and only buy oil and gas from the United States and high-priced American consumer goods. And if they don't do that, then he threatens to hit them with a tariff. You see, so that's what it's all about. It's about geopolitical control of certain areas of the world that are vital for those who want to control the world. If you can't control the Arctic, then you can't control the world, because that literally is the top of the world. So if you want to be on top of the world, you have to be in charge in the Arctic. So thanks for those questions, and I think we'll leave it at that. Our time is well spent. We've been on the air for about an hour. So unless there's some burning question that just has to be asked, I think we'll call it a wrap.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So thanks for being with us. Don't forget to share and subscribe. All right. So thanks for being with us. Assalamu alaikum.